Hey everyone, sorry about that. Looks like we had some technical difficulties with the Facebook Live functionality here. This is part two of our M19 New Player Acquisition Tools live stream. So hopefully some folks will kind of realize that the stream broke out there and come on into this one again. But just to quickly reintroduce, today's stream is about the new player tools that have been provided for the M19 season, with the program focus being on Open House and the other new player friendly programs that we have. So what we've gone over so far is the Magic introduction table. Big bullet points there are to keep it near the front of the store where you'll have new players that can see it. You want to make sure that there is a scenario set up for them to see what Magic looks like, and we do have an example of one of those on the link that I've provided in the video description here. But long story short is it's a quick snapshot of a Magic game that'll give people a feel for it, and after they see that, you can offer them a new welcome deck and actually teach them the game at one of your play tables. All right. Excellent. Yeah, and so the last thing we were talking about here was this flyer holder. And if you want to keep this on the introduction table as well, or if you don't have the space, you can keep it on a counter space, wherever you think it might attract the attention of a potential player there. We've got a few templates that you can print out from our marketing materials page to introduce people to events such as Open House, and this one's League here, I believe. And yeah, essentially just more advertising slotting for you to do for WPN events there. All right. So Magic Table gets used for a scenario. They're interested in the game. They're ready to actually learn it. So the next step is to have them select a welcome deck, sit them down, and then you can use this flip book to go through their first game with them. Now, the idea behind this flip book is that you give them essentially a cursory overview of the Magic rules. As many of you know, Magic has a lot of rules to it. There's a lot of depth. That's part of what people, especially experienced players, like about it. However, it can be really daunting for a new player just getting into the game. So the big kind of tenets that you want to stick to is you want to keep it simple, don't be overbearing with the rules, and keep it fun. Right? The point of teaching a new player Magic is not to make them a Magic rules expert after one game, but rather it's just to make them have a good time so that they want to have a second. And this flip book, it actually makes it really easy. You know, if you yourself do have experience with teaching people the game, it's just a good kind of reminder. You can go through the steps there. But even if you have staff members that maybe aren't super familiar with that as an idea, maybe they're not even that familiar with Magic, you can still use this pretty effectively to have a player get a simple kind of bite-sized version of what Magic's like. And essentially, you just go through each page, beginning with choosing your deck, and then going through some basic aspects of the game, such as turns and phases, etc. All right. So, and remember, the point of this is to want them to play a game and hopefully to want to join you for organized play. So you'll notice that with your Open House kit, like normal, we do have the match slips that come for this. However, something that's kind of cool and new that you want to pay attention to is we do have the automatic sign me up check boxes that your players can fill out and be let known that they want to pre-register right on the spot. So this is a kind of way of just tying in the next few programs right to Open House, because again, this is really just an introduction to the season, and get them coming back the following week for pre-release, and then hopefully the week after release for League. All right. And by the way, for folks that have joined us here, if you have any questions on M19 New Player Tools, any of our programs, maybe you just have a comment for me, feel free to drop it in there. We'll be happy to respond as they come up. All right. Now, of course, Open House is kind of the star of our M19 season here, as M19 and core sets are about player acquisition, and so are our Open House. Naturally, they're a good fit for one another. And for this event, just like any other event, but almost even more so in a certain way, promotion is key. You gotta make sure folks know about this, and not just your normal Magic players. Naturally, the intended audience for Open House is folks that have not played Magic before. So as such, we do have some promotional material on the website like usual. We've got some good templated items that you can put your own event information into. For example, we've got this sweet one with the new Vivian Planeswalker on there. Pretty cool. She's definitely going to be a big star of the M19 set. And these are great to put up anywhere around store, especially those spots where you don't have regular Magic players congregating. Again, big emphasis here is you want to be promoting the Open House to players that aren't already involved with your organized play. And as usual, you want to make sure that you have the event poster filled out, also put up in a prominent spot. Typically, I'll see those right in the entranceway. Sometimes if stores have foyers, that's definitely a good spot to put something like that. And check out the marketing materials page if you haven't yet for M19. We've actually done a huge amount of content for this one, for everything from events like Open House to the pre-release early booster box sale that's going on. Plenty of stuff. And actually another little cool one, we have these both for the early sale promotion as well as the Open House, and really just kind of an evergreen welcome deck item. These are our table talkers that you can kind of assemble by printing them off the marketing materials there. All right. One other point to make here about Open House, you want to make sure that your staff is ready ahead of time for this. Okay, it's not always going to be obvious to a staff member what exactly it means to teach someone magic. You definitely want to make sure they're familiar with things like the flip book, but also run through a couple rounds with them. Make sure that they know all the things that must be hit and the things that really shouldn't be talked about, some of those in-depth rules. All right. Oh, great. And it looks like we do have a question here. Deck Builders Toolkits, only for core set releases. Yes, so as of M19, we have positioned the Deck Builders Toolkit to be part of the core sets specifically and not other sets. Part of the reason for that is the Welcome Deck, Planeswalker decks, and Deck Builders Toolkit for M19 have all been designed to integrate perfectly with one another. All right, so the idea is a player comes into Open House. They get their free welcome deck based on kind of, their personality, what they like about the specific color that they've chosen, and that's part of the flip book here. They can play a few rounds with it, and if they're immediately ready to upgrade, they've got the Planeswalker deck. And naturally, we've got those available at the Open House for M19. It's actually the first time that we're doing this. So all a big part of that, tying in new players to the set itself. A couple of other good tidbits about the Planeswalker decks themselves. The MSRP is $10.99. And there is only one booster pack in it, and there are all 5 colors. So whereas for normal sets, we've only got 2 Planeswalker decks available, we wanted to make sure all of the colors in the pie were represented here, so we've got all those available for M19. All right, and yeah, so another note on Planeswalker decks, if you are ordering those, indeed, there is going to be an allocation for Open House, pre-release, and release potentially. So expect to get 3 different shipments across those 3 weeks if you are kind of maxing out on all those available allotments there. All right. Excellent. All right. And oh, of course, so there's the promo for Open House. This one works just like it did before. So we've got the Gutter Snipe for this one. And essentially, the way that works is you want to award players that are either new or assisting with the Open House process. So that is, if someone brings in a new player that's never played an organized play, great, they get a promo. The new player themselves, of course, they get a promo in addition to the welcome deck that they get for coming in. If you have someone that comes in and teaches all the new players, or maybe assists with deck building, kind of adapting those welcome decks over to the Planeswalker decks, that's all great behavior and perfect reason to give someone one of the promos for this. Excellent. So new players, they get a welcome deck, they get a promo for hanging, and your experienced players that come in and they help out and they want to see the community grow, they get something as well here. And be sure at Open House, just like all of your events, you're always advertising the next event, offering invitations to that next event. Pre-release is actually just kind of, because it's one of the biggest events in general, also happens to be one of the biggest events for new players. So you want to make sure they know, let them sign up, let them pre-register if they want. Again, even the match slips for the Open House themselves has a little checkbox for them to be able to register there. And you can get them going into the event path for players straight away from Open House. All right. And so M19, as stated before, is intended to be an evergreen new player set. What this means is it's something that you want to have your shelves all year long, including those 5 Planeswalker decks, as an easy recommendation for someone who's just getting into the game. Core sets, they tend to be a little bit simpler. They don't go as deep into their own set-specific synergies and mechanics, which makes it a little bit easier for a new player to, A, understand the color pie and what each color kind of specifically does within the game, but then also, B, just be able to simply create decks and not have to worry about complexities that can sometimes come with our other standard set releases there. All right, and so to just kind of wrap it up here, we've got 2 paths that you want to be thinking about in context of Open House starting the season. That is the product path with the newly available Planeswalker decks at Open House that can integrate with the welcome deck they've just received, as well as the deck builders toolkits, which will be available at release. And we've also, of course, got the event path of Open House into pre-release, and then ideally for a new player, they would then go to League to sign up or go to F&M. And then later in the season, they've got things like Draft Weekend when they're ready to start drafting, Standard Showdown when they're ready to start Constructed Standard at a slightly higher competitive level than F&M, leading up to things like Store Championship and Premier Play.